take this long to go live.
Oh, there it is. So
Good morning. Good Monday. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Welcome to MasterBrews Monday.
is it Monday? Is it Monday already?
I think it's Monday.
All right. So as you know, every Monday we bring special guests on. And this week we didn't have any, so we brought Medici. No.
Very nice. Very nice.
We would like to introduce you to Mr. Medici Vault, and we'll let him give his introduction. But first, I must ask. Oh, we have two guests now.
Yes.
Yes, you're gaining popularity.
I must ask. What is in the vault?
Oh, there's a diverse array of treasures.
What is the most valuable item in the vault?
All right, so here's, in my opinion, what could turn out to be one of the most valuable NFTs, and it was essentially the first NFTs minted all the way back in 2011 on Namecoin, and they're called puny codes, which result into an image of a emoji, ASCII art, or other sort of early artistic representations on blockchain. These are specifically on Namecoin. The first ones, there's I think 280 in 2011, or maybe no, I'm sorry, not even that many. There's maybe more like 180, and then in 2012 there's something like 265, and then some more after that. But originally and for a long time, many of us thought 2014 Kevin McCoy's Quantum on Namecoin. I think it's early February 2014 was the first actual NFT art NFT or NFT art, and it's I follow a lot of they're essentially called NFT archaeologists, and they're like historians. They're going back and plumbing blockchain, specifically from Bitcoin, Namecoin to Ethereum, and finding stuff that a lot of people don't know about, and this obviously Namecoin forked from Bitcoin. I think it was January 2011, and Namecoin is actually the only other blockchain that Satoshi actually contributed to and talked about, and so it's really interesting because the next month was when the first puny code showed up, the first representation of art NFTs on blockchain. And so it's highly unlikely there's anything earlier than that, given that it wasn't possible on Bitcoin to do. And so Namecoin being the first fork that actually made it possible. Anyway, so it's really interesting stuff. And there's certain guys out there. There's a guy called White Fluffy Rabbit, and another one called Leonidas and Adam McBride. Those are three top kind of historians plumbing into vintage NFTs. Mm-hmm. So those are there's a chart that shows like the total supply created in 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, and it's like this funnel, right? Extremely small. I think there's like 20 projects created in the first like 5 years on like blockchain, or 20 collections. Right, until 2018, there started being a decent amount more. 2017, I was starting with CryptoKitties, Punks, and a few like that. Pepe's 2015, but ultimately you see now there's a million new NFTs being created a day, right? And so when you think back about scarce, limited quality, and what makes something unique and rare. And especially as more and more traditional collectors and investors come in and look at those kind of the numbers on things and the significance of with history and being firsts with certain things, it seems like it has the potential over the longer term to be 100x versus other things that have great potential but it's hard because you're choosing between a number of different PFP projects, some similarities and so forth. And so it's just like startups. You're betting on the team. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, a good team will make something successful. It may take 6-12 months even, but they'll grind it out and they'll stay with it because they're used to success, they're used to perseverance, and that's what they do. A shitty team that's just trying to, basically cash grab, they're going to do all their work front loaded up front and take whatever they can get and then not do much work afterwards. And it's also kind of an aligning of incentives, right? If you sell out everything up front, that's the one way you sort of monetarily are incentivized. Then what about all the months to come of building community, building a project, the ecosystem, other pieces of it, and growing something, and and coming from the startup world, both Nighthawk and myself, it's equivalent to if we raised money and basically took all our vesting up front. And then, for the next 5 years, we were expected to build with zero equity stake because we'd already vested and even sold off. And so the whole concept of what works to motivate, a founding team, with a lot of the 10K PFPs where it's front loaded up front, it's the incentives don't line up as well as they could to really have everyone working together, the community, the founding group, and so forth. And
you
so
just gave me an idea, so I want to interrupt you to throw out this idea. What if a project were to come out today and to be different and try to show, something towards what you're talking about? They put a time release in the contract. So even if they sell out day one, only X% of the funds are withdrawable every X period of time.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think if they did that, that would show something? Would it help them basically attract attention and sell out in today's space, or would people not care?
I mean, for me, as someone who, invests into PFP projects and collects, it matters a lot because I know that these guys have an incentive beyond just recognition or reputation and goodwill and whatever, which, it can be recreated if, in an anonymous world sometimes, they have an additional incentive. And as that incentive fuels them, they grow more and more essentially attached and connected with the community as people, right? And there's a certain point where you don't want to let the community down. And hopefully that's from early days with the founding group. But some people, it's like it grows stronger and stronger, and that becomes stronger than the monetary incentive. So even at the point where, let's say a year later, where you've staggered out the release of the funds, even though there's no longer the monetary incentive, let's say a year later, you have all these people that rely on you. You're a leader and you have a duty, right? A responsibility to, and there's shifts of incentives to that are, most successful when you can mix them together. It's like open source projects, right? And you have, a number of people that contribute to open source code and they get some good recognition and respect in the community. But if they could get the recognition and monetary incentive and get paid by having some ownership in that protocol they're building, which is what, crypto and blockchain and NFTs enables, now they have double the incentive. Much better for everyone that's going to be joining that project because it's just that much more chance they're going to be successful. And so, what has happened in some projects that have been really successful, and I've seen and talked with a number of, bigger collectors in Wales that they say they don't want to be in a project that sells out in a few hours, all 10K, because it's really risky and there's going to be a lot of, flipping and selling, and it's almost too front loaded. Unless it's like, something really, really big names, big brand, and it's, something that can keep growing, like, Proof, obviously, and Kevin Rose being behind something and having a lot of the startup entrepreneurial community, in Silicon Valley that, knows him and that got into NFTs through Moonbirds. Even though I'm not I don't think the art's amazing, they have a really strong team that a lot of people know and recognize. These guys are going to keep building this no matter what. And so there's value, and that's the market. You guys have seen the floors there. That's the market voting and confidence of this is a proven successful tech founder who's building, essentially you're building a tech company and community that, and then adding to that, right? But foundationally, we're building that on the blockchain. And so, a lot of big collectors, they go back and look at projects 3 months old, 6 months old. And what they're looking for is, have these guys kept building? Have they kept talking with the community? Are they continue to make progress regardless of if they're sold out or not yet? And, I think there's a number of really good projects that didn't sell out. They launched, and then for us, for example, we launched into an environment of, we had pushed it back a few times because it was a bear market for NFTs. We had went through the summer last year of, tons and tons of 10K projects selling out in an hour and then going to zero, like literally a week or two later, like 0.001. after selling out like at 0.08 or whatever, 10K, like, and so that that shows what's broken with that model, right? Like there's nothing behind those things, and it also allows scammers to more easily cash grab by getting it front loaded. So another model to you kind of go with your thought, Various, and also maybe build demand and as you go along is there's a this idea that we thought of because the environment was very weak. We're like, well, we don't want to release as many as the full supply as we were initially thinking, so let's release an initial set of 1K Genesis whales. And I think projects looking at if you do a staged release, a tiered release of there's 1K or so many released at this date and then next date, or even at a certain growth of the community. So you let the demand build up and then you release the next wave and the next wave. I guess sort of Zed Run did a decent job of this. I mean, I don't know how many 100,000 racehorses are out there now, and but
I have DuckTales. He's worth like .00001.
What are the racehorses? Like Gen 10 or something?
I don't know. I bought him like early last year, and I raced him once. I didn't like the game; wasn't for me. But he gets offers all the time of .0000001.
Yeah, buttering.
But I will keep him. One day he'll be worth 10 times as much.
Yeah, there's always the lowball offers. Yeah, it's the bots are always at work out there. Yeah. But I mean, so
before we get too deep, though, maybe we should start with introductions for both you guys and what you do. For anyone listening, who's not familiar with you guys, we kind of went backwards. We jumped deep into things. I was not expecting such an answer to what's in your vault.
But, I was going to say, Various, you got to be careful when you're asking Medici open-ended questions.
Into the vault, your eyes may get burned.
So we will. Let's start with introductions. 17 minutes into the call. So sure, Nighthawk. Obviously you and Medici work together. Why don't you introduce the both of you and your project and what you guys do?
Sure. So our project is the Crypto Whale Club, and we've both been in the space for a while. Medici's been in it for longer than I have. I got kind of going with NFTs spring of 2021. So about a year for me, a little bit longer in crypto for me, and then Medici's been in a bit longer on the NFT side, and then also quite a bit longer, I think, on the crypto side, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we did. We had been collecting, and we wanted to try actually building a project and see things from that side. And so we did the Crypto Whale Club, and we thought that having that tie-in with between crypto and NFT space would be kind of cool. And so we designed these anthropomorphized whales that are basically a whale's head, but like a human's body, and it's got each of them have a specific whale type.
Maybe you can pull them up while we're talking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so they're each tied to a specific kind of crypto coin or token, and we've got a variety of different kind of utility pieces we built in, just kind of based on the type of things that we were looking for in projects. So we kind of built that all into the whale project, and so we launched, I guess it was at the end of 2021, and have been kind of slowly selling and building since then with more stuff coming here. So there they are. Yeah, there's I think about 150 plus type traits, different kind of variations and stuff. But yeah, so anyhow, that's kind of like a quick background on it. I mean, you can find a lot more information in our Discord, and we could go deeper into some of the components if you guys would like.
Let's find out. Is Nighthawk based on the DC character, or was it a different Nighthawk, the bird?
No, yeah, I mean, so I was, when I first was getting into the space, I was trying to figure out if I should just, be myself, or if I create kind of like an identity for my NFT collector identity, and I decided to just do kind of a name because it seemed like a lot of people were doing these kind of nicknames, and then I created like a separate kind of NFT Twitter to go along with it. And for me, I just thought it was kind of a cool idea. This idea of a hawk kind of cruising around at night, collecting different pieces of art and whatnot. It was not based on the character. I do like that tie-in, but I can't say that was the impetus for it. But yeah, and so it's just kind of stuck around, and I've used that for like a year or whatever.
There is a Nighthawk protocol actually. I think IOC or some blockchain group came out with essentially their latest like build. It's codenamed or called Nighthawk.
Sounds like a good name for a stealth protocol.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then, well, same question, Medici Vault. We answered the Vault part, but where does the Medici come from? Are you a fan of Cosimo de' Medici, or did it come from just the Latin word itself?
No. So yeah, I like history, and the Medici family were heavily involved in kind of pushing the Renaissance into being, right? The first kind of great flourishing of art. And the relatability is, it feels like we're in a second Renaissance, a digital and a decentralized one. Whereas the first Renaissance, it was like the 1% were the ones.
Penguin, do you want to try muting yourself? I think you're very noisy.
I don't.
Oh,
Sorry?
It's gone now.
I had muted during that noise. I'm not sure where it was coming from, but yeah, it's gone now.
It's the Matrix.
Exactly.
It's the Nighthawk protocol.
Redacted.
I wanted to circle back one thing to one thing you said earlier, Medici, because it kind of caught me off guard as being both humorous and really interesting. You were talking, you used the phrase vintage NFTs and talking about sort of these name coin NFTs. And it kind of made me chuckle to think that we can be in a space where we're both early, right? I mean, I still think we're early in the space.
100%.
It's kind of becoming a bit of a buzz term to say that, but I still think it's true. And yet also have vintage NFTs that are what, 10 years old, basically, from what you're describing. So it's really a unique time in the space, and I think it's an interesting perspective that you bring to it. And yeah, wow, vintage and early. It's funny. I like the duality of it.
It's really, yeah, it really is. And if you look at the time frame, like for example, Bitcoin launched January 2009, right? And I think the first exchange rate was established then or the next month at something like 1,000 Bitcoin for $1. And it was like put out, or the name was registering, kind of the wipe and some stuff put out second half of 2008. But if you look at the internet and intranet, right, how it initially started at universities and government orgs, and then developed into the internet, and then the length of time it took for the internet to go from the early just kind of random stuff before there was even established standards like www. There's this IP address is how you access something, right?
Yeah.
And then you overlay kind of that time frame versus blockchain development, and it follows a bit of a similar trend, right? Where even 1999, internet was really early. Even in after it crashed in the early 2000s, we were still super early based on, compared to everything else that's been now built on the internet.
Sure.
Massively, right? And so it's a matter of perspective, right? And if you look at a growth and exponential growth, and the number of adopters, whether it's crypto holders or number of blockchain, or the amount of capital, the amount of kind of total development, I mean, it's still a fraction of where it's going to be. So 100%, it's possible that the dichotomy is really fascinating because you could do something right now, start something that is something new on blockchain that's different, just like DeFi sprung up and then NFT sprung up, right? And now there's algorithmic, crypto native stable coins, and, where they're taking a bit further, with derivatives and lending. So I can get collateralized my NFT portfolio. and get a big loan, right? And all these things just keep evolving. Logistics, supply tracking. You can put a QR code on a painting and like have the physical tracking of the painting as well as, tracked on the NFT blockchain. Like VeChain's been doing this for a while, tied to like the actual NFT being generated and tracked to, the artist wallet online. So you have the pair. It's a fascinating time to be in the space and like creating stuff.
I'm in a project where you could stake your NFTs to earn tokenized silver, and then you can exchange that tokenized silver for physical silver if you so choose, or you can leave it as a token. So one of my favorite questions to ask, so we've talked about NFTs 10 years ago. Where do each of you think the space will be 10 years from now? Because I'm not sure. I like this maybe demeans the space a little bit. Oh, I have a cat climbing on me. I don't think 10 years. I don't think,
say, what is that?
I don't think 10 years from now we're still going to be looking at, pixelated dicks as the main driver.
God, let's hope not. So we better be.
But
in 10 years, we're not driving around flying cars in the metaverse, like in virtual worlds that are, that we're tying in, not through Oculus Rift like goggles, but literally a contact lens like thing that you put in. Then I'll be disappointed, right? A decade's a long time to develop stuff. And I think, if you just look at the trends, there's, especially younger generations, which will continue to push it forward. There's just more and more people spending time online. And if you're going to spend time online, it'd be nice to be able to spend it virtually, like interacting in other ways than just voice. Like here we have voice and video, but if we could be, 3D avatars running around showing off our house we built filled with artwork, or, a statue of our favorite PFP or whatever, right? And you can integrate all your, ownership is like, I can't just put random stuff in there on blockchain. I actually have to own it. And so now it's like the creator generation, all of us owning our own assets, our own information. If you can have a car dealership that is in, whatever virtual world is, and there will be multiple ones, right? From other side to, Decentraland and those standard ones, the crypto voxels and Somnium Space, and all these other ones they're building. And that, some of them start with games and then to get land and build it up that way as a funding mechanism. Play to earn is, obviously something that's going to be pushing this for years to come, as games are an early adoption point for interaction with people. And if we could be represented either as ourselves, which, obviously the evil Meta Corporation, which is like the Sixers from Ready Player One, is they're doing they have some body scanning technology. So it's like your exact rendition of yourself will eventually be in the metaverse. But I don't know if many people want that, right? Like a lot of people want to have a different version of themselves to escape into virtually, and look, it's great to have the option of both. Maybe Facebook is more your professional profile. You go and do virtual meetings that way with your real self. And then there's other virtual worlds that you go in as, fucking like a grizzled up ape, with wearing a cutoff.
Right.
It's called Ape Various, or whatever.
Very.
I had a boss once. I remember in Second Life when that first came out. He
Oh, yeah,
ran into
Lindy
our
Labs.
office screaming, saying, "Oh my God, guys, you'll never guess what, but I bought 3 penises." And the office looked at him like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "and I can use them all at once." And we had no idea what this guy was talking about. But it turned out to be for his virtual Second Life character.
Yeah, cheap, easy, convenient enhancements.
So
anyway,
so I imagine that he wanted that fantasy.
And NFTs drive that, right? Like that's the provenance of ownership. Like you build up. Like I really like what Punk 6529 is doing with Ohm. He's basically giving out there's tons of land, and anyone who's willing to come and build something and do something of value with the land, they can put an application and they get it for free. But the point is, he's empowering. It's a very decentralized, and as a response to Meta as a centralized kind of metaverse or virtual world. This is the decentralized response where all of us, 99% of us, will build this virtual world together, and we're all crowdsourcing, contributing our own creative, like different visions and like weird, wacky shit, and that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it the oasis, to some degree, in my opinion. Like it needs to be like built from 1 billion people, right? How think about the power of that versus one company trying to do it. And so, and then that's the approach that wins to me. So both Nighthawk and I have our applications in to be builders, to build virtual galleries, to, eventually get we could eventually have like, for example, a whale races game that's happening virtually, like 3D, and like it looks fucking cool as shit, right? Like you're floating in the ocean watching it, or even you have the perspective of your whale like swimming through the ocean through this course. And so there's so many like opportunities where, people who just are here to learn, experiment, and build, and not like necessarily here to try to make money as much, like they're going to end up continuing to create a lot of value for the people that are on the journey with them and for themselves, right? And if you just keep building, it's almost impossible not to be successful as long as you have the kind of wherewithal to keep doing it, because all these kind of incredible things that can be done are there. Like it's just a matter of like taking the time, the hard work, figuring it out, and sometimes the capital to have the be able to fund doing some of these things. And so that's, I think the 10 years from now, NFTs are all virtually, you're buying NFTs obviously in a virtual environment, like in a virtual world. You walk up looking at them and you just grab one and it like takes it from your bank account, in the virtual world, so to speak. Everything's cross chain, right? Things are being wrapped already. So interoperability is like, smooth as fuck. And there's like, no one even thinks about the different blockchains, right? It's all like you have your virtual world where everything pulls in to your universal ID, that's for that world, and all that kind of stuff, right? And so I think with a gaming aspect, like you basically, obviously there's wearables and all that stuff, but there's like, I think some character development makes it interesting, overlying like a narrative of a larger, bigger game with games within. So that's my thoughts, and a lot of education happening there, a lot of meetings happening there, like professionally, like companies, but a lot of also fun and so forth.
Yeah, I've got actually a slightly, I think all that's going to be happening, but I've got a different, I suppose, application that I'm kind of looking forward to see where it goes. And that's more the social applications, stuff like voting, using blockchain to do some different kind of voting
100%.
systems. And then, even kind of more day-to-day stuff like insurance claims, and having that be a transparent process and a way to, I suppose, kind of invalidate any duplicates. I think there's a lot of really interesting business applications that haven't been explored yet. And then also, like I said, social applications, especially in some of the less developed countries, and even some lending applications. And so
titles and deeds, imagine that, how many corrupt governments just steal people's land and say, well, now this is our land. We just changed the title. There's no title.
So yeah, record management.
Or a bearer deed, which is bullshit. And, you can actually have it all on the blockchain, legitimate. Like it can't be like stolen by governments.
Which of course brings up a broader question of whether that type of government would recognize blockchain ownership anyways. But
I was thinking the same thing. It's like you'd have to get someone good in there to put it into place. And then even if you got someone more corrupt, it would make it like much harder for them to be able to.
I'm with Penguin, and I've lived in such countries. If the government's stealing your land, they really don't care if it's recorded on the blockchain.
100%. Yeah. But occasionally there's times where the people rise up, they get the vote of the popular person in, someone who's, willing to and wants to make a bunch of changes.
I suppose the difference is they couldn't destroy it, right? It would be there on the blockchain for someone in the future who wanted to come look at it versus, like, say, paper electronic records as they exist today, and they could be destroyed and kind of erased. So I suppose that would be kind of the one difference. You might have some recourse down the line.
But you got to get the right person in to put it in, like you guys said, or like El Salvador, like, you get the right people, they adopt Bitcoin as like national currency, or whatever the different efforts that are pushed forward, tax reforms and breaks to like help stimulate. And little by little, each of these pieces give more people encouragement to do it. Just sort of like legalization of cannabis. Started with one state, then a couple more states, and then, double the number of states. And eventually now we're at a point where it's about to be federally legalized. All because, like, you start with one small, step, right? And then it like, and ultimately this is like, to me, like blockchain can become the global communication and a global kind of currency. And if we all have the same currency, we're all like kind of got skin in the game and align together, then, there's a lot more resistance, I think, to like governments going to war, and like the country's leaderships, country versus country. It becomes much more like we're all universally connected, both through a financial incentive and penalty that hurts all of us, as well as, sort of it's tying people together peer to peer to do more interactions with each other, whether it's lending, business, artists connect. It's all, and so I think it's making the world kind of a little bit more interconnected and cohesive, which ultimately ends up, over the long term, I would think, making it a more peaceful place. So hopefully, we could see that over 10 years actually evolve to being more of a reality, where the people have a bit more power to like kind of, try to have some semblance of sense.
Self-governance.
Well, here's my Black Mirror question. In how many years do you foresee, if you think it will happen or could happen, that there will be such a thing as the New World Order type government, where everyone universally on Earth will be paid just with a certain amount of crypto to live off of, no matter what they do or don't do, or it's going to be unassociated to their job or their work. Do you think you'll ever see that come into play in your lifetime, or no?
Well, yeah, so like UBI, right? Universal Basic Income.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that make the price of everything else go up though? Like if you create all this extra money to give out for that, it inflates the price of everything else because everyone's spending that money, and so then what you're spending it for is like essentially ends up being the same price as before you got the.
Well,
UBI?
I think there's a lot of different takes on it, but one of them is that you would no longer be paid to do jobs, which obviously has its own problems of how do you get people to still do them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea is that it would replace, everyone would be able to live off it. So I guess the only way that would work is if they control the pricing and put caps on prices for certain products, right?
So
if everyone gets paid,
really
why do anything? Like if you don't have to do anything, a lot of people won't be incentivized to do anything, so nothing will get done, and so then that also increases the price of everything because supply goes down.
I mean, I think maybe I can answer that, Medici. So think about proportionally someone who's got like $10 million and who's receiving $25K extra a year, versus someone who has like no dollars receiving $25K extra a year. So it doesn't really help the people who are already fairly rich. It helps people who are fairly poor. One, and then I guess two, the idea of UBI is to encourage people to pursue those things they are passionate about,
right,
in the hopes that then adds actual value back into society. Yeah. Now, if you're passionate about watching TV 12 hours a day, it maybe doesn't quite work. And so I think that those are kind of that's where the gaps in the theory are, is what about if someone just what they like to do is doing nothing? How does that how do you get value back to society from that?
So accountability, if you have some accountability where after so much time, it's like you're expected to start contributing something. And then number two, if it's done as a supplement versus like that is the income for everyone, like, everyone can still make income through, let's say, traditional kind of means, and it's just like an extra supplement on top of that, then it could work, right? If it's like the only method of paying and we're just going back to a communist country, then
I think the idea is that it would replace some of the existing social social good welfare programs. Yeah, and so you would basically get this kind of flat allowance from the government, and with the idea that like a lot of our other programs would kind of go away. And I mean, it's really it's nice in theory. It's interesting in practice. I think there's been some different places they've tried it out.
Degrees of success, but
if it could be done right, I could see it being successful. And I like the idea of it, to be honest, as a supplement, right? It's like something that you lay around and add, and an additional means of income for people.
Yeah, the idea is to give you enough to basically survive on, but not like have disposable income.
Yeah, it's probably like the prevention thing, right? Like what is it, like a tenth of prevention or an ounce of cure or something like that. So like if got
I was to say, yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. But you're always in any model, in any society, in any system, you're always going to have the person or people that just want to watch TV for 12 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of the setup. And UBI is something I've done a fair amount of research on, although never with the with the twist that you're paid in crypto. I do like that. But it's kind of. Yeah, it's like Nighthawk said, it's to give you an opportunity to do something that you're really passionate about without having to worry about how you're going to pay the bill at the end of the day. And I would almost argue to a certain extent, this is kind of maybe more of the lefty in me is saying this, but I would almost argue to a certain extent that you almost need some of the people who are only going to watch 12 hours of TV a day with their UBI, and that's what's kind of keeping these deflationary pressures. That's what's going to balance out the cost of things in the long run, because you're still going to have people who can only afford the very basics, and that's going to keep prices down. I mean, all of this is just speculation, but I certainly think there's a reality where this works.
I would love to see this applied where, as long as you're completing certain like education, like coding classes or something that's relevant in today's economy and market, that would be an amazing thing to pay people to learn.
A retrainment tool.
Well, it's the retraining, right? Yeah, exactly. Because like some people, they've had decades of experience doing a job that's now been automated. And so it's like, even if they want to work, it's like hard for them to find a job. So they have to be retrained for certain things that are based off something they're actually passionate about. And if like, think about how many people would actually be like, all right, I can do this. I'm going to jump into learning something new, despite it feeling scary or whatever, because I'm being incentivized with money to go out there, take the risk and learn. And once you learn, then you can, you kind of want to put it into practice, and you can become a positive contributing member of society from from getting that chance to learn by being paid, so you can pay your bills while getting your new skills.
I think what you need is a social scoring system, though, which is what China's trying to push really hard. And if you don't contribute in whatever ways are defined to earn enough points, well, then you start losing social privileges, which some people again might not care. They might be fine staying at home.
Other people the true incentives
can no longer enter a restaurant or can no longer attend a concert because they have not contributed anything positive.
I mean, the one thing I'll say is that model does work with like corporations. That's why they're like 4 or 5 times more productive than governments, because there's incentives and disincentives and penalties.
You could start taking, I guess. Well, I guess you could start with like a wall of shame, but I don't know if that would necessarily deter too many people. And then you could start like removing. You start removing voting rights, which of course would get into some very foundational constitutional stuff. But I mean, there could be, I suppose, an argument made that if you're not going to contribute to society, then you don't get to have a vote in influencing it. I think that there's a lot of potential problems with that, but anyway, so it's a really interesting thought.
Well, what about, remember no taxation without representation? One of the things the country was founded on. If you reverse it, no representation without taxation. And there's right now only 50% of the people net pay taxes, right? And so 50% of people who are contributing, they don't get representation until they contribute. But once again, like I think that's a huge debate. There's pros and cons, and like there's arguments on both sides. So I'm not advocating that per se. Just throwing out a little something to mix it up.
It's an interesting conversation.
Yes. So I guess we should mention, since everyone else is, what are your guys' thoughts about the whole other side? How it went? What it looks like?
Yeah,
people lost money. A lot of gas money burned.
Really interesting. I actually had thought they would do it in ETH for sure, instead of like sucking in a ton of ApeCoin and then having to just kind of sit on it. But I suppose it kind of makes sense. They wanted a deflationary component to ApeCoin, so they grabbed a bunch more of the supply.
Well, locked up the supply for a year.
I'm glad. I think that was a good move. I am really curious if like their next kind of thing is to do some sort of NFT marketplace that is transacted using Ape, because now that Ape has kind of dumped figure out a way to, I suppose, make that coin valuable again. Or maybe they don't care. I mean, I would think that at some point when they go to sell their chunks of it, they would want kind of the price to be a bit higher. Maybe not. I suppose they have lots of income. I think that the KYC thing was interesting. A lot of people didn't really seem to know that you needed to do that. So I think that probably bummed a lot of people out. Yeah, I mean, it kind of, I suppose, limited the number of people participating, but then also a lot of people also thought there was going to be a Dutch auction, and then they ended up kind of switching that last minute, making it a flat rate, which I think is for the community better. I don't particularly love Dutch auctions, but if you're a creator, I think Dutch auctions are something you might like if you're trying to kind of extract maximum value. But I do think, yeah, the stuff with gas, like it a lot of people lost a lot of money there, and that's always like a hard, I think, part of any hype drop to tackle successfully. But as far as the art,
you have some people saying they didn't care, right? They didn't try, they didn't make a single optimization when so many were pointed out to them. And then you have people like Vitalik jump in and say, oh, it wouldn't have mattered, it wouldn't have helped, which is not totally accurate, even coming from him. He's wrong.
How dare you?
And then you have them saying, well, this is a great reason to show why we need our own chain. So you get the conspiracy theories of did they not optimize on purpose because they wanted to look as bad as possible.
Well, that's
so they can. Wow, they're on blockchain. Yeah, so I mean, I do like that it was open as long as you KYC. Though I didn't hear about. I don't know what I guess I'm just not in the right circles there, but I do like that it was open to other people to kind of expand that community, because a lot of the basic stuff has been fairly inclusive. Like if you had a Bored Ape from early on, like you've got thing after thing after thing. So that's cool that some more people were able to kind of participate.
Let me pose this question. Is it okay? So because it involved KYC, it discouraged a number of like kind of Web3, kind of hardcore or long-term kind of people, like myself. I should have done it probably, but I also, like you said, it sounded like it was going to be a Dutch auction. I've been in Dutch auctions with art blocks and other things, and it's horrible, right? Like you get fleeced for a huge amount of money and a huge amount of gas, and it's just like never worth it. I mean, to their credit, they changed that, but it kind of sucks because I think a lot of people, they're like, well, I'm not going to KYC because if it's going to be a Dutch auction. Now, the people that did KYC, I mean, there's 130,000 people that KYC'd, right? And a number of those are probably, this very well might have been their first NFT, or they're more like less Web3 native, and so they're more okay with it and just kind of used, it's not a thing for them. And so I think it probably brought in some more like kind of more Web 2-ish kind of people versus Web 3-ish kind of people, if you will, like less, guys have been collecting in the space or in crypto investing and that kind of thing, and more people that have been like hearing about it, wanting to get in, and it was like this was the chance. So whether that's good or bad, I think is debatable. It expands the diversity of their base, but is it expanding it with the right kind of people? Yeah, and that's, I think, a question that can be debated.
I think personally it was a test. It was a test of how many people will blindly follow us no matter what we ask them to do.
Yeah.
And we're not going to give them details why. We're just going to say, hey, if you do this, could be some benefit in the future. And let's see how many people actually do it versus don't do it. That's my thoughts on why they did that initially.
Hardcore believers.
Now, of course, they had to give something to those people, otherwise it would look fairly bad on them. Yeah. And I guess, they just decided to do it with this. But so I don't know if they were thinking about attracting a new type of person as much as, how many people are just going to blindly do whatever we say?
Yeah. I don't love that, the lack of transparency. But, they've got the influence to be able to do that. And yeah, that's a really interesting point, Various, as far as what they can kind of get away with and how strong the cult is. so to speak. I'm not saying it's a cult at all, but like, but yeah, that is a kind of something more to think now.
It's funny you say, Medici, about the Web3 hardcore Web3 people won't necessarily want to partake in a system like this. And yeah, it's so true. I mean, we have members who won't even participate in the Twitch games we try to run because that requires them signing up for Twitch accounts and things like that when they'd rather just be able to, link a wallet or.
It's the principle, right? It's the principle of Web3 and the whole decentralization. I mean, it's like very core. And so like, I totally get that. And like, it's almost like you're going against your principle to do it, right? Like you're going back to a Web 2 kind of environment, it feels like. And not to say that like, with anything, regulation brings growth, right? Because then like the masses can come in more safely and those kind of things. And so I'm not to say that there won't be some elements of this in the future, but like, if I really wanted to, I could just spin up a completely new blank, clean wallet, put my details in, and have like nothing of all my other wallets or other history. So it's possible to do, but it just felt like the principle of the thing was, it just felt like we're going to send a message back to Bored Apes. That's not how we do it, right? But Bored Apes have also gotten NFTs much more mainstream. They deserve a lot of credit for that, right? Like they've gotten celebrities involved who have literally talked about it on national shows. And so, getting more people in NFTs and into Web3 is a good thing, period. Like, it's good for growth. Now, the leaders, you don't always do everything right. There's always mistakes to be made. Who knows what they intended, what they didn't intend. I do. It's interesting when you have 130,000 KYC. I think the number of wallets though, with like the amount of ape needed was only like 25,000 at least a day or two before. But at the same time, like when you have it like opening up to unlimited, you can do more. But like, what if you did like part of it's like like if you had a lottery system and people who won the lottery go in waves, right? Like, and you don't have to sell out in 3 hours, 55,000 pieces. You can, if you really didn't care about like the headlines of like sold out all this and made $500 million or I don't know, 300 million in 3 hours or whatever it was, 400 million. You do it over 3 days. Like you do it, staggered out, like a chunk of 1,000 have 3 hours, next chunk of 1,000 have 3 hours, and it feels like that would be a way to do it. Now, the one problem there is like people who sign up and say they want to, they KYC'd and they say they want to get it, end up not getting it. And you don't know how many people are going to do that. Like you can make your guesses. And obviously then you just have spillover. So like what do you call it? Like wait list to the allow list.
See, that would be a problem like a normal project or a new project would have to take into consideration. They know no matter what system they put, they were going to sell those out at some point, right? So like that gives them way more options than a typical project. Because a typical project, they might need that FOMO to even get over the hump or get their sales rolling.
True.
This one did not. So they could have easily done it in different ways, like many different ways that are not options for everybody, because other people do have to worry about if I space it out or slow it down or lose momentum, do I lose my sale? That was never a concern with with theirs. So they had a lot more options.
The conspiracy theory that this sale went exactly as they wanted it to is maybe not a conspiracy theory.
Well, let's see in a week. Announcing Ape Chain.
Yeah.
Blockchain with low fees. You won't get burned, I guess. Yeah. And then it's just like it aligns too well. It's like, man, that worked out well for you guys. Yeah. And you sort of knew it would.
Yeah.
Web 3.0A.
Yeah, Web 3.0A.
So what's interesting? I've seen some of these other bigger projects like Mecca, and then I guess recently Gary V's V Friends too, where they do like a raffle, and then basically just the people who are able to mint their one or whatever it is, and then that keeps gas really low because you got this like 24-hour window and it's very small. I mean, you just have the number of people who can actually get it. But raffles are tough in that if you don't win them, you're frustrated. And so I don't know.
All they had to do was, in this case, if they wanted to, again, there are many options, but they could have opened something up for a week where you just go in and pay a deposit to get like a token, and then you pay the rest and burn that token when you want to grab it. You know, you can do like so many things because again, they're not worried. Are we going to sell it or not? Like it's a foregone conclusion. I would say they were. So yeah, they could have done a lot of things. I don't think they cared to or needed to, and obviously they didn't need to, right? Because as much as people complained, everyone still paid the gas and still did it, myself included. So
did you get one, Various?
I got the worst, most basic land. Definitely no quota. Definitely some poor star resources. So yeah, that's my luck. And my other thing is I'll never ever win a raffle. So I just avoid raffle systems altogether.
I'm the same way, man. I lose constantly. I've lost so many of them.
I win when the prize is kind of not a big deal, and the big ones I tend not to. But we'll see. What do you think of the actual art for the land and for these codas? And like, do you think it's actually? I mean, is there a chance that this doesn't become that well used? I mean, there's a lot of people trying to do these different metaverses. I mean, like Arcade is out there trying to do a version where you have all these different kind of projects importing their token, their NFTs.
Well, they're the ones that made that ape game, apes versus punks or whatever.
Oh,
and so they got like.
I thought their games to date suck. I thought they're terrible.
Games in general. Blockchain games. Are you saying blockchain games so far have sucked?
I mean, many of them, yes, but I was talking about the Bored Ape specific little arcade games they've had. But yeah, no, I think the art on Mutants, I find it terrible. That's just my subjective opinion. But I do like these lands. I thought they were actually pretty cool. I thought the little codas were cute, and I thought they did a much better job with the art than they did with stuff like Mutants and some of their other things.
That's an interesting perspective.
So,
a lot of people.
I'm pretty picky with my art, but I actually like the other side art, which I'm surprised to say.
Yeah, we'll see how I guess the utility of it all plays out too. That'll be interesting if what kind of adoption they get.
I mean, until anyone knows like how the resources work and what you do with them, and what is the actual appeal of it, it's hard to really say anything about it right now. It's just a waiting game, and I'm sure that the floor is pretty stable where it is now. It won't go much lower.
What are we at right now?
I think it's at 3.5. I think it crashed like 60% after reveal.
I'm looking at it right now. It's 4.18.
Oh, so it went back up a little. But I would say the bottom of it should be in the 3s, and it should never go lower than that. And once they reveal stuff, then you'll find out.
Yeah, because I mean that's 3 is basically what people paid, right? I mean, after you calculate gas and everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
At least, I mean, that's what is that? 1 ETH of gas? And a lot of people are losing when they put in like even 2 ETH of gas. They're getting failed transactions.
Jeez.
Yeah, I got mine through. I got 2 of them through with 2.2 ETH of gas.
Yeah.
So that averaged to 1.1 ETH on each. And I'm like, the way I would not do it for a normal thing unless I really liked it. This one, I'm like, no matter what, you're going to be able to sell it for profit, even if it's a small profit. Like, I don't see any way to lose money with this one. So
yeah.
And maybe I was going to get lucky and get a coda or a cool artifact, but nope. So.
You got a couple lands, and that's still considered, I think, lucky by some too. So
yeah,
that's something.
Yeah. So now it depends what they do with it and if it's going to be something cool or not. I know we applied for their SDK access as MasterBrews, so we can look at bringing in our projects and do all that type of stuff. We'll see, obviously, if and when they answer. But
I was gonna say, did they send it over? I'd love to. They're probably not sending it right now to keep things from.
Yeah, the first 2 times I applied, their form broke. Then it told me my name cannot contain a space. then it got through, but it didn't give me a success message. It just said thank. It didn't say thank you. It didn't say anything.
Nice.
So
so
I'm guessing they outsourced that form. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So there's 100,000 total they announced, and then there's gonna be another 100,000, right? But isn't there like 15,000? Like there's 55,000 sold, 30,000 for apes and mutants. Yeah. What about the other 15,000?
So that 15,000 that was already minted before everything started went to 4 different wallets. One of them was Yuga Labs, and then 3 other what looked like holding wallets. Some people are saying, oh, they're just giving it to investors or people like Animoca. What I understand from the way it's written on their website is that will be held to give out to people who create impressive things and use the SDK to create like some cool stuff on their land.
That's
and
a good
then
idea.
they'll distribute it to those people. That's how I understood it. But again, until we see what they actually do, who knows? They could
Well, 4 wallets might mean 4 things, right? One of the wallets,
Yeah.
there's so many lands in there, like what you said. Maybe another one's for like, their investors or their big partner, Mocha. Another one might be for marketing, promotion, whatever.
Rewards.
Or they're just, not keeping it all in one basket just in case. You never know. I mean,
sure, yeah. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, they might click on the wrong DM and
yeah.
I mean, their Instagram didn't that get hacked or
their Instagram did. I'm pretty sure their Discord has in the past once or twice.
It's got to be really hard to protect against that when you've got some very serious effort going into hacking you. I mean, like.
But wallet-wise, they can just use Gnosis multi-sig and have require 5 signatures or 3 signatures or whatever it is, and have those different and to make it pretty safe.
Just keep it in the Coinbase wallet; it'll be all right.
Well, all of a sudden tomorrow, Coinbase hacked all wallets.
Coinbase files for bankruptcy the next day.
Have you guys jumped on their new platform, the Coinbase NFT?
No, I haven't. I took a look at some of the pieces of it, and some people were very disappointed. They expected certain features, and none of the features were there. So
you can comment, which is really interesting.
Oh, that they had.
So someone lists say something below floor, and then they get flamed by 5-10 other people in the class.
That's gonna be interesting to see how that works out. The social pressure,
I know. I think. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
I was saying I know we're running a little long, but speaking of listing things below floor, I'm starting to get all of these DMs from people who want to collab, whose big sales feature is that we have it built into the contract that if you list below floor, it'll burn your NFT. And I'm like, First of all, so what do you? How do you establish a floor if you can't list below floor?
I guess just what mint price is.
Talk about a way you want to piss off your community and get a bunch of toxicity.
Yeah.
Imagine you go up there, so there's just high floors. You're like, oh yeah, there's double the mint price. I feel like fair.
Well,
you've lost your NFT.
I might have the project wrong, but I want to say it was Kaiju Kings who started something like that and made it popular because it worked for them. Their floor price went up very quickly,
and
everyone was then afraid to list it. I think if it was them, the way it worked was whatever the current floor was, if you listed it less than X% below the current floor, then every night they would burn a certain amount of them, or they had a burning mechanism that was something to do with that.
Right.
And again, it might not be them. I might be confusing them, but
it's like the floor could never go down
whoever did it got to a 1 ETH floor. And so it got really popular and blew up for a little bit. But then if you look at it now, whatever one it was, I think 0.0 something again. So
because people discovered their dirty little secret.
That's right.
That is it.
So Coinbase, I mean, it's nice to I guess, even if it's pretty, not the best version, they've got lots of resources. They'll continue to build it out and put money into it, and it'll get better and better. So I've registered 2 accounts to get at least 2 of my kind of profile names established, just to have, that, but also, who knows, maybe Coinbase drops a nice commemorative NFT for the early alpha adopters or beta, whatever they're calling it. One interesting thing that I did, that Coinbase actually announced, I think it was last October in conjunction with ENS, is essentially they're going to be supporting, essentially ENS infrastructures. And the most important piece of it is the subdomains. So being able to have a domain, then the subdomain show underneath it, and have different kind of collections within subdomains, and kind of in my mind, it's kind of like the start of www, World Wide Web, right? You have and ENS is getting more attention now with digits and that kind of stuff being bought, but it's going to expand other things as well. And .eth, and then having be able to structure just like a Web2 website, you've got your domain, then you can have something your domain name.com or whatever, And also making, it's becoming very easy to literally just import a Web 2 site or page even into a Web 3 wrapper, a XYZ.eth website that's, MetaMask Web 3 enabled, all that stuff, like, through like Brave or MetaMask's browser and all that. And so as that happens, like, it feels like almost like ENS, and because so much activity is on Ethereum, obviously, it's kind of establishing the World Wide Web standards and, subdomains and all this kind of stuff. And it's really interesting that Coinbase is, and I think they'll be announcing something very soon here about pushing it out, and they'll probably push ENS like awareness like much higher too. And it does kind of feel like it's kind of creating some infrastructure behind the scenes, right, to help organize everything going on. So interesting kind of thing to keep an eye on, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw someone tweeting they got 1.eth, like the number 1.
Like 001? Oh, ONE, or because it has to be 3.
I don't know. Maybe it was fake then, but they just showed 1, like the digit 1.eth as their name.
Yeah, so if you go to ENS and try to just register 1, it'll say it's an invalid name. You basically have to have 3 characters. Now, there is a little trick that I don't know if I should expose it.
give it to our 5 MasterBrew people watching.
All right. So the one thing, I'll let you guys dig into it. I'll just, one word, emojis. And there's some interesting things with emojis that you can find. Probably nothing, maybe some alpha.
All right.
On that note,
yeah. On that, I think, that hour flew by. We covered a lot of cool things, and thank you guys for being our guests. Is there anything you want to go out on? Any closing notes?
I mean, appreciate you guys having us on. Always fun to talk shop, and I mean, there's so many interesting things always happening in the space. So it's always nice to kind of just chat about some of the different things.
Yeah, I learned actually quite a bit on this show. Actually, the biggest thing I learned was about what was in the vault.
Yeah. That's just a small little glimpse, my friend. We'll have to get into more. But look, guys, this was a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm certainly excited for Ragnarok. I need to figure out a way to get some more faction mint passes. I have Odin, I believe, but like I think I only have 1. So perhaps I can get an extra one for coming on today. I know it's not like 4 of them. That's why he's been shaming you here for not being as active and earning stuff.
You got to grab the Heimdall.
Yeah, I'm a lot of it is from like I've got whelps and white rabbits and different collections that you were able to get a pass from. So you need to do some more MB collecting it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited for Ragnarok. I think that's gonna be a lot of fun to you got a great story. It'll
be obviously an experiment to see how the current meta accepts it, because it's not your typical PFP project. Like pretty much everything we do, it's not your typical project.
That's what I appreciate about you guys. You push the bounds and do different stuff like gas.
At the same time, sometimes it's to our detriment, right? Like if we were worried about the money aspect, we would have been able to pump out so many more things we don't like.
But then your reputation is shit, and for the next 10 years,
we don't like ourselves either, right?
Yeah, so. I'll say this: like the pioneers take a couple arrows, right? But as long as you're in the pioneering group, and as long as others take some more arrows than you did, the ones that survive like are the Googles and of the world now. Just
those scars are good for the grandkids.
That's right. Good stories to tell.
Good stories for the grandkids.
That said, we will have some Ragnarok news coming this week. I don't know what day is the MasterBrews Ragnarok Minute.
I think
Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
So maybe we'll share it there.
Nice.
There's some extra news for it, and it's not another delay. It's more positive.
That'll be exciting. Thanks for having us on, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, and for everyone listeling, hi, thank you, and check out Crypto Whale Club. CryptoWhaleClub.io, right? I'm not mistaken.
I posted the link in the comments there.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll be making an announcement a little bit about. We've been, brewing up a little bit of a game here, a little racing game. That's, it's we've been getting through each of the kind of checkpoints, and it's getting pretty close to where we can.
Who do you think would win in a race, a whelp or a whale?
Well, I don't know how well the dragons swim.
Oh, wait, we have the title. The title can swim.
There you go. Yeah,
I feel like they crest up and do like a dolphin, like cresting out of the water and then going back in, like mix of a Loch Ness monster and a flying dragon.
Well, you guys have isn't there a whelps racing game coming here?
Yeah.
Yes, we are aiming. Right now, the way everything's gone, the first week of June, the playable demos should be ready.
Nice. How exciting would it be? Like, let's say end of this year or sometime down the road, we both have our games and then we create the interoperability. So, you could enter whales and whelps in each other's games. And, then it's a really interesting game theory dynamics of comparing different attributes and how.
The only hard part about that, at least from our side and the type of game we're making, is really just the time it takes to do like those 3D models and animations. Because to do it for the 6 whelp breeds alone is months of work, right? So let's say you have a couple cool whales you want to include. Well, we're talking the same months of work to.
Yeah, it's like there'd be one whale making a cameo that can appear. A few months later, maybe a couple other friends come and join. What are you using? Like how are you developing it? Is it like Unreal Engine or Unity?
So these are going to be using Unity 5 because when we compared all the pros and cons, and obviously the studio partners, they have more experience than we do. It is, my understanding, the easiest way to say it is, unless you're doing something really high end with a high frame rate, like a first person shooter at a top frame rate, Unity 5 will look just about now as good as Unreal will, at a significant cut to your cost in both the type of engineers you need to work on it and the actual amount of code you have to write, because it has a lot more modules that are already built you can just plug in. So it seems like the answer was, were we willing to pay another $500,000 and wait another couple of months to get an extremely not noticeable like visual upgrade? So no, the answer was no.
Yeah, that's a quick no.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Awesome.
But there will be Unity 5, which is much higher quality still than GPL, which is like kind of, or what is it? WebGP? No, GPL, I think. WebGL. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Which is what a lot of browser and mobile games use. But no, ours, the Whelps one, is going to be actually like downloadable. You'll have to download it, install it, and that's that's why we're also using Unity 5. It's more compact. It's just a better experience for all that type of detail.
Yeah, nice. Are you going to be able to race those the highborns?
Yep, they are one of the 7 breed models, and then I believe it's the body patterns and the horn types which apply.
Cool.
Your actual moods will not be the same as your NFT, but they'll be just like a lot of those types of games. Later on, you can purchase different emotes and different reactions, and use them as taunts and celebrations and those type of things.
Wow!
But from your NFT, it will map your actual body pattern and your horn type, and the types of breaths will all be in there, so you'll have your breath.
Yeah, you guys really did it right. We're doing a bit of a simpler type of version, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, for heroes and villains, we had to go a bit simpler for the MVP, just because there were literally billions of combinations, and if we actually did every animation with every race type, gender type, body type, there was something like 3 years of work. So we are going to take a few shortcuts there, but still make it as great as we can. And the number one shortcut was just don't give everyone all their physical traits right away. Just make them wear costumes. So yes, your elf will look different than your human, than your demon. Your woman will look different than your man. But we're not going to have every single cosmetic like earring and piercing and
those can be rolled out later. Hey guys, by the way, the hats have been added.
Yes, we want it out. We want it to be fun to play, people to like it, and then we can do those things. As the money rolling in, and we just spend on those.
No, 100%. Dude, get something out there that works that people can get excited about. Start playing. racing, and then you keep adding to it and just evolving and building it, even more. It gets better and better. I mean, that's the way to, develop and roll out products. At least the successful way.
But there were some we drew a line on, like we're like, we have to have this, like powers. The easy way was all the powers, if they do damage, you show a little flash and you show the damage, right? Like even some of the games like Marvel Strike Force, they take shortcuts on some of that stuff. We're like, no, we need cool animations, like to show.
Yeah, animations are great.
People, but again, that's very time consuming, and so we're kind of, for the MVP at least, we're doing a lot of compromises where it'll still look good, but it won't be like a full on Final Fantasy immersive effect of using a power that takes like 3 minutes to show you the effects.
Yeah, you got to save some stuff for V2.
Yeah. But I guess we ran even further over now, thanks to me. So, all right. Thanks again, guys. Enjoy your Monday, your week, and thanks to whoever was watching us.
Yeah, likewise.
Take care, you guys.
All right.